Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Valiant. Through the wide windows, he could see thousands of alien ships moving toward the solar system. They looked like dark clouds blocking out the stars. 3 years ago, humans had first met these aliens from the Galactic Federation. Back then, everyone thought it would be the start of something good. Now Jake knew better. Admiral Lisa Carter sat in her command chair on Earth's main space station. Her face was hard as stone when the alien message came through. The words appeared on her screen in perfect English, but the meaning behind them made her blood boil. "People of Earth," the message began, "you have grown too strong too fast. Your weapons worry us. Your ships are too many. You will give up your military and let us watch over you. If you refuse, we will destroy you all." Lisa read it 3 times. Each time, it made her angrier. She had spent 2 years trying to build friendship with these aliens. She had offered them trade deals, shared human art and music, even invited their diplomats to Earth festivals. This was how they repaid her efforts. Commander Ryan Brooks walked into the room carrying a thick file. Ryan had been studying the Federation for months, and his face showed he had bad news to share. "Admiral, I have the intelligence report you wanted," Ryan said, setting the file on her desk. "It is worse than we thought." Lisa opened the file and began reading. What she found inside made her stomach turn. The Federation was not the peaceful alliance they claimed to be. For thousands of years, they had been conquering younger species by pretending to offer friendship. First, they would make contact and offer technology. Then they would slowly take control. Any species that refused was wiped out completely. "How many species have they destroyed?" Lisa asked. 47 that we know of," Ryan replied. "Maybe more. They keep no records of the ones they kill." President Helen Davis called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Government. Leaders from every nation gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. The room was silent as Helen stood at the podium. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. "My fellow humans," she began. 3 days ago, the Galactic Federation sent us a message. They demand that we surrender our right to defend ourselves. They want us to become their slaves, just like so many other species before us. Angry voices filled the room. Representatives shouted questions and demands. Helen raised her hand for silence. "We offered them friendship," she continued. "We shared our culture, our science, our dreams of peace among the stars. They have answered us with threats and ultimatums. Let history remember that Earth tried to choose peace. But if they want war, then war is what they will get." Dr. Sam Chen worked late in his laboratory, studying everything humans had learned about Federation species. Sam was Earth's best expert on alien biology and behavior. What he discovered kept him awake for 3 straight days. Most Federation species were not like humans at all. Many of them thought as one mind, like bees in a hive. Others had been bred for thousands of years to never fight back. They could not understand human ideas like individual courage or fighting for freedom. To them, humans looked like dangerous wild animals. But Sam found something else in his research, something that made him smile for the first time in weeks. The Federation had never fought a species like humanity. They had conquered worlds full of peaceful farmers and gentle scientists. They had never faced a species that had spent thousands of years fighting each other over every scrap of land and every new idea. Sam picked up his phone and called Admiral Carter. "Lisa, I have good news and bad news," he said when she answered. "Give me the bad news first," Lisa replied. "The Federation fleet heading our way has over 3,000 ships. Our entire space navy has only 200 ships. They outnumber us 15 to 1. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "What is the good news?" Sam smiled. "They have no idea what they are dealing with. These aliens have never fought a real war. They have never faced an enemy that refuses to give up. They think this will be easy." "And it will not be easy?" Lisa asked. "Admiral, they are about to learn why humans conquered their entire planet before they ever left it. They are about to discover why we have words like never surrender and death before dishonor in every human language. They think they are Hunting sheep. They are about to find out they picked a fight with wolves. The Federation fleet moved closer every day. Admiral Keltar, their commander, sent message after message demanding Earth's surrender. Each message promised that resistance would only make things worse for humanity. Jake Morrison read each message and deleted it without answering. On Luna Base, Colonel Amy Foster prepared her fighter pilots for the coming battle. These men and women had trained their whole lives for this moment. They knew they might not survive, but not one of them asked to be transferred to safety. Remember, Amy told her pilots, they think we will run when we see their numbers. They think we will beg for mercy when the shooting starts. Let us show them what happens when someone threatens the human race. The Federation had given Earth one final chance to surrender. The deadline was tomorrow at noon Earth time. President Davis sent back a single message. It was short and simple. You were warned. Earth tried peace. You chose war. Now you will learn why that was a mistake. The die was cast. Tomorrow, the galaxy would discover what humans were really capable of when pushed too far. The deadline came and went. At noon Earth time, Admiral Keltar waited for humanity's surrender message. Instead, he got silence. The silence made him angry. No species had ever ignored the Federation's demands before. Keltar was a Zephyrian, tall and blue with 4 arms and cold black eyes. He had conquered 16 worlds for the Federation. Each time, the younger species had begged for mercy within hours of seeing his fleet. He expected the same from these humans. Send a warning shot, Keltar ordered his weapons officer. Destroy one of their outer moons. That should make them understand. The Federation fired their massive plasma cannon at Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. The blast could be seen from Earth with basic telescopes. It was meant to scare humanity into surrender. Instead, it did something else entirely. Captain Jake Morrison watched Europa's surface turn to glass from the alien weapon. His hands gripped the control panel so tight his knuckles turned white. Around him, his crew was silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Federation had just killed 3,000 human miners and scientists who worked on Europa's research stations. Jake picked up his communication device and sent a message to every human ship in the solar system. His voice was calm, but there was something cold and dangerous underneath. All ships, this is Captain Morrison. They just murdered 3,000 innocent people. They wanted to send us a message. Message received. Now we send one back. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster got Jake's message while preparing her fighter squadron on Luna Base. She looked at her 29 pilots and saw her own anger reflected in their faces. These men and women had volunteered to die for Earth if necessary. Now they had personal reasons to fight. Pilots, you heard the captain, Amy said. They think killing our people will make us afraid. Let us show them what human fear really looks like. Amy's squadron launched from Luna Base in the fastest fighters humanity had ever built. They were outnumbered 10-1, but that did not matter anymore. The Federation had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Admiral Keltar watched the human fighters approach on his main screen. Only 30 small ships were coming toward his fleet of 3,000 massive warships. He laughed, thinking the humans had gone insane with fear. Look at them, he told his bridge crew. They sent children and toys to fight us. This will be over in minutes. But something strange happened when the human fighters reached the Federation fleet. Instead of attacking in neat organized lines like every other species did, the humans scattered in all directions. They moved in ways that made no sense to Zephyrian military thinking. Amy led her squadron in what she called the Chaos Run. Her fighters weaved between alien ships like angry wasps, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The Federation ships were huge and powerful, but they moved slowly and could not turn quickly. The humans, meanwhile, fought like they had nothing to lose, because they did not. Lieutenant Tony Miller flew his fighter straight at a Federation cruiser that was 300 times larger than his ship. The aliens thought he would turn away at the last second. Instead, Tony aimed for the cruiser's main engine and rammed his fighter into it at full speed. The explosion destroyed Tony's fighter completely, but it also crippled the alien cruiser. As the huge ship began to spin out of control, It crashed into two other Federation vessels. "One for Europa," Tony said in his final transmission. Captain Danny Clark commanded the human destroyer Phoenix when the real space battle began. His ship had only 50 crew members, but it was fast and carried the most advanced weapons Earth had ever designed. Danny used tactics that the Federation had never seen before. Instead of fighting ship to ship like civilized beings, he targeted the Federation's fuel supplies and communication arrays. Within an hour, 12 alien ships were floating dead in space, unable to move or talk to each other. Admiral Keltar began to understand that something was very wrong. His fleet was supposed to crush these humans in minutes. Instead, he had lost 40 ships and the humans were still fighting. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Sir, they do not fight like any species we have encountered," the officer replied. "They ignore our battle formations. They target support systems instead of main weapons. They sacrifice themselves to damage multiple ships. It is not logical." "Then teach them logic," Keltar shouted. "Fire everything we have." But the Federation's everything was designed to fight enemies who stood still and traded shots like gentlemen. The humans refused to cooperate. They hit and ran, used asteroids for cover, and turned the space around Jupiter into a deadly maze of debris and wreckage. Commander Beth Johnson coordinated Earth's defense from Luna Station. She watched the battle on 100 different screens and saw patterns that made her smile grimly. The aliens were powerful, but predictable. They followed rules of war that made sense for conquering peaceful species. Humans had different rules. Human rules were written in the blood of 10,000 years of warfare on Earth. Rules like win at any cost and never leave a fallen comrade and make the enemy pay for every inch. Beth opened a communication channel to every human ship in the battle. "All units, this is Luna Command. The enemy is confused and angry. They expected us to surrender by now. Instead, we have shown them that humans do not surrender. We do not beg. We do not break. Keep hitting them. Make them remember this day." As the first day of fighting ended, Admiral Keltar looked at his casualty reports and could not believe what he was reading. He had lost over 200 ships. The humans had lost only 15. Worse, the humans were not retreating. They were regrouping for another attack. Keltar sent an emergency message to the Federation Council on the capital world of Zentaris Prime. His message was simple, but terrifying. Send more ships. Many more ships. These humans are not like the others. On Earth, President Helen Davis received reports from the battle. The news was both good and bad. Good because humanity had proven they could fight the Federation and win. Bad because this was only the beginning. Intelligence reports showed 3 more Federation fleets heading toward Earth. Each fleet was larger than the first. The Federation was no longer trying to conquer humanity. Now they were trying to destroy it completely. But Helen also received other news. News that made her hope for the first time since the war began. On 12 different worlds, other species had seen the battle recordings. They had watched humans fight against impossible odds and refused to give up. For the first time in thousands of years, enslaved species across the galaxy were beginning to remember what freedom looked like. And they wanted it back. The first day of war was over, but the real fighting was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the first battle. What started as Earth's defense had become something much bigger, something the Federation never expected. Humanity was no longer just defending their home world. They were taking the fight to every corner of Federation space. General Marcus Webb stood in the war room on Mars looking at a giant map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Federation strongholds. Blue dots showed human positions. Every day, more red dots turned blue as human forces liberated world after world. Marcus had been a soldier his whole life, but this war was different from anything he had ever seen. Humans were not just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for every enslaved species in the galaxy, and they were winning. "General, we have a problem," said Colonel Katie Adams, walking into the room with urgent news. "The Federation is sending their entire reserve fleet to crush our advance. Over 5,000 ships are heading toward the Proxima system. Marcus studied the map. Proxima Centauri was humanity's first colony outside Earth's solar system. If it fell, the Federation would cut human forces in half and trap thousands of ships behind enemy lines. Who is defending Proxima? Marcus asked. Captain Danny Clark with 50 ships, Katie replied. Marcus was quiet for a moment. 50 ships against 5,000. The math was impossible, but he had learned not to doubt human courage. Send Danny a message, Marcus said. Tell him to hold the line no matter what. Help is coming. Captain Danny Clark received the message while standing on the bridge of his flagship, the Earth ship Defiance. Around him, 49 other human ships prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history. Danny was only 28 years old, but he had already become a legend among human forces. In 3 months of fighting, he had never lost a battle or abandoned a position. His crews called him Iron Danny because he never bent and never broke. Now Danny faced his greatest test. His scouts reported that the Federation fleet would arrive in 6 hours. 6 hours to prepare for what might be humanity's last stand in this part of the galaxy. All ships, this is Captain Clark. Danny broadcast to his small fleet. I will not lie to you. The odds are bad. We are outnumbered 100 to 1. But remember why we fight. Remember Europa. Remember every innocent life the Federation has taken. We hold this line not just for Earth, but for every free soul in the galaxy. The Federation fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Admiral Velcon, their commander, was a Tertian with 6 eyes and a reputation for never showing mercy. He had personally ordered the destruction of 8 entire species. To him, humans were just another pest to be eliminated. Surrender now and die quickly, Velcon transmitted to the human fleet. Continue fighting and watch your worlds burn. Danny's reply was simple. Come and take them. The Battle of Proxima began at dawn, ship time. The Federation came in a massive wave, expecting to overwhelm the humans through sheer numbers. Instead, they found themselves fighting in an asteroid field that Danny had spent weeks preparing. Human engineers had turned every large asteroid into a hidden weapons platform. As Federation ships moved through the field, explosions erupted around them from all directions. What should have been an easy advance became a deadly trap. Lieutenant Carol James commanded one of the hidden asteroid bases. She waited until a Federation cruiser passed directly overhead before firing every missile she had. The alien ship broke apart in a spectacular explosion that lit up the asteroid field like a second sun. That one was for the children of Kepler. Station, Carol said, remembering the Federation's massacre of human colonists 3 weeks earlier. But the Federation had too many ships. For every alien vessel destroyed, 2 more took its place. Slowly, the human defense began to crack under the endless pressure. Danny fought his ship like a man possessed. The Defiance took hit after hit but kept fighting. When the main weapons failed, Danny used the ship's engines as weapons, ramming Federation vessels and using the explosion to damage nearby enemies. As the battle entered its second day, Danny sent his final message to Earth. Proxima holds. We are outnumbered but not outfought. Tell my family I did my duty. Tell the galaxy that humans do not surrender. The message reached Dr. Maria Lopez in her laboratory on Earth just as she made the most important discovery in human history. Maria had been studying captured Federation technology for months, trying to understand how they controlled so many different species. What she found made her sick to her stomach. The Federation did not rule through military might alone. For thousands of years, they had been poisoning the food and water of conquered worlds with chemicals that made other species passive and afraid. Entire civilizations had been turned into docile slaves through biological warfare. But the chemicals did not work on humans. Human biology was too different, too chaotic. That was why the Federation feared humanity so much. Humans were immune to the mind control that kept their empire together. Maria immediately contacted Admiral Lisa Carter with her findings. Within hours, the discovery was broadcast to every human ship and every allied world. The galaxy learned the truth. The Federation's power was built on lies and poison. The news spread like fire across space. On dozens of worlds, enslaved species began to remember who they had been, before the Federation's chemicals stole their courage. Revolts broke out on every major Federation world. Captain Amy Foster led the liberation of Kepler Station, a massive space station where the Federation kept millions of slaves from 12 different species. Her marine units moved through the station like a storm, freeing prisoners and destroying Federation control systems. When Amy reached the station's central prison, she found creatures who had not seen sunlight in decades. They were weak and frightened, but when they saw humans fighting to free them, something awakened in their eyes. "You are free," Amy told them in the broken universal language most species understood. "The Federation will never hurt you again." One of the freed prisoners, an elderly Calarian with silver fur, grabbed Amy's hand with tears in his eyes. "We had forgotten what hope looked like," he said. "Now we remember." The war had spread to over 100 star systems. Federation forces found themselves fighting not just humans but revolts on every world they controlled. Their empire was cracking apart from the inside. Back at Proxima, Danny Clark's sacrifice had not been in vain. His defense had delayed the Federation fleet long enough for human reinforcements to arrive. When General Webb's relief force jumped into the system, they found 50 human ships still fighting against impossible odds. The Federation fleet, already damaged by 3 days of fighting against Danny's forces, collapsed under the combined assault. Admiral Velcon was captured alive, becoming the first high-ranking Federation leader to face human justice. The galaxy was burning, but it was the fire of freedom, not conquest. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Federation was losing a war, and humanity was just getting started. 18 months after the war began, President Helen Davis stood before the Galactic Assembly on the neutral world of Haven Prime. But she was not there to beg for peace. She was there to deliver humanity's final judgment on the Federation. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from 300 different species. Some had fought alongside humans. Others had served the Federation for thousands of years. All of them knew that today would change the galaxy forever. Helen walked to the center of the hall and spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the massive room. "People of the galaxy," she began. 18 months ago, the Federation gave humanity a choice: surrender or die. We chose a third option. We chose to fight. Today I am here to offer the Federation the same choice we were given: surrender or face complete destruction. In the audience, Federation Supreme Commander Zekral shifted nervously in his chair. The insect-like alien had led the Federation's military for over a century. He had conquered 50 worlds and destroyed 20 entire species. Now he faced the possibility of watching his empire collapse in a single day. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the largest fleet in human history as it approached Zentaris Prime, the Federation capital world. 3,000 human ships filled space, around the planet, supported by liberation fleets from 100 former Federation colonies. Jake stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Earthship Vengeance. The name was chosen carefully. After 18 months of war, humanity had learned that the Federation respected only one thing: overwhelming force. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the surface," reported Lieutenant Sarah Bell. "Supreme Commander Zekral wants to discuss terms of surrender." Jake smiled coldly. "Tell him he had his chance to surrender 18 months ago. Now he gets to experience what every species felt when Federation fleets appeared in their skies. The Battle of Zentaris Prime began at midnight, planet time. The Federation had gathered every remaining ship they possessed to defend their capital. Over 4,000 alien vessels surrounded the world in multiple defensive rings. Captain Lucy Adams led the first wave of human marines toward the planet's surface. Her transport ships moved through the space battle like ghosts, using advanced stealth technology that humans had perfected during months of guerrilla warfare. Lucy had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war, capturing the Federation Council alive. These were the beings who had ordered the extermination of countless species. Humanity wanted them to face justice, not die as heroes in battle. The transport ships broke through the planetary defense grid and landed in the capital city of Zentaris. Lucy and her Marines moved through streets filled with terrified civilians, but the humans had strict orders: harm no innocents. Their target was the council building at the city's center. Federation ground troops tried to stop the human advance, but they fought like beings who had never faced real soldiers. Their weapons were designed for controlling slaves, not fighting warriors. Lucy's Marines cut through them like a hot knife through butter. Dr. Paul Turner worked frantically in his mobile laboratory as the battle raged around Zentaris Prime. Paul had spent months developing the antidote to the Federation's biological control system. Today, he would deploy it on the largest scale ever attempted. Human ships began releasing the antidote into Zentaris Prime's atmosphere. Within hours, every living being on the planet would be free from the chemicals that had kept them docile for generations. The Federation's own capital would rise up against them. Admiral Velton, commanding the Federation's last reserve fleet, watched his forces crumble under the human assault. Nothing in his military training had prepared him for this kind of warfare. Humans fought with a savage intensity that terrified even veteran soldiers. When Velton's flagship was surrounded by human ships, he expected them to demand his surrender. Instead, Captain Danny Wilson opened a communication channel with a simple message. "This is for Europa. This is for every world you burned. This is for every innocent life you destroyed." Danny's ships opened fire simultaneously. Velton's flagship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. The Federation's last military commander died knowing that his empire died with him. On the surface, Lucy Adams and her Marines reached the Federation Council chambers. The massive doors were sealed with energy shields, but human engineers had learned to crack Federation technology months ago. Inside the chamber, 12 alien beings sat around a circular table. These were the most powerful creatures in the galaxy, rulers of an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. Now they cowered like children as human soldiers entered their sanctuary. The council leader, an ancient creature called the Prime, stood on shaking legs. "You cannot do this," he said in broken English. "We are the lawful government of this galaxy. We have ruled for 10,000 years. Lucy removed her helmet and looked the Prime directly in his multiple eyes. "Your rule is over. You had the chance to treat humanity as equals. You chose to treat us as slaves. Now you get to learn what it feels like to be powerless." Back in space, Jake Morrison received reports from across the galaxy. The war was ending on 100 different worlds simultaneously. Federation forces were surrendering or being destroyed wherever humans found them. But the most important news came from Dr. Paul Turner. The antidote was working perfectly. On every world where it was deployed, enslaved species were remembering who they had been before the Federation poisoned them. Ancient cultures were awakening. Lost languages were being spoken again. The Federation had not just lost a war. They had lost their empire, their power, and their ability to control other species through fear and chemistry. President Davis received the final battle report while still on Haven Prime. The Federation capital had fallen. The council was captured. The last military forces had surrendered or been destroyed. After 18 months of the bloodiest war in galactic history, it was finally over. But Helen knew the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was free, but freedom meant nothing without justice. War crimes tribunals would take years to complete. Billions of enslaved beings needed to be relocated to their original worlds. Entire civilizations needed to be rebuilt from scratch. Commander Kate Wilson delivered the final military report to Earth. The numbers were staggering. The Federation had lost over 50,000 ships and millions of soldiers. Human losses were much smaller, but every death had been a person with family and friends who would mourn them forever. Kate stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships from hundreds of worlds dock together peacefully. Former enemies worked side by side to distribute food and medical supplies to liberated worlds. "Was it worth it?" asked Lieutenant Mike Roberts, joining Kate at the window. Kate thought about Europa, about the 3,000 innocent people who died in the Federation's first attack. She thought about the billions of enslaved beings who were now free to choose their own destiny. "Yes," she said finally. "We warned them. We offered them peace. They chose war. Now the galaxy knows that. Some things are worth fighting for. The age of the Federation was over. The age of freedom had begun.